I'm troubled and upset. What if I told you that two convicted murderers, one of those depraved murderers, he executed two FBI agents at point range, and the other one gunned down a mother and her 8-year-old son, who was a witness to a drug crime. These two murderers, they were handed clemency. They were let go. They were forgiven under President Joe Biden's pen, if he really signed it. But here's the thing. This is so important. What if I told you that the very official who was screaming on 60 Minutes this Sunday about how dangerous Trump's pardons were, she helped make this happen. Her name is Elizabeth Liz Oyer. She's the former U.S. Pardon Attorney. Anyway, Liz, I'm talking to you directly, and I'm talking to 60 Minutes and to every one of my beloved LinkedIn family, every American who is only shown half the story on 60 Minutes. Now, before I read from the CBS transcript, I want you to see the other side of the story. It's the story 60 Minutes buried. Let's talk about Leonard Peltier. He was convicted of murdering not one, two FBI agents. They have names. They were Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams. They were shot in the head, execution style. This wasn't a shootout. This wasn't in the heat of passion. This was a cold-blooded execution. The other killer, Adrian, he was convicted in connection with the killing of Karen Clark. And if that's not depraved enough, her 8-year-old son, B.J. Brown, fact check this. They lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut. The boy was murdered by Adrian to stop him from testifying. This case was so brutal. This is a fact. It helped trigger Connecticut's witness protection program, all because B.J. Brown was killed. Both of these men, both of the killers, they received clemency from Joe Biden. Elizabeth Liz Oyer, she was the inside. She was the machinery. She was the pardon attorney. She met with the killers' advocates. She met with their attorneys. She drafted recommendations. She was sitting in the very office that moved these cases forward. Now, keep that in the back of your mind while we learn from Liz Oyer how terrible Donald Trump supposedly is for using his constitutional power that every president in American history has held and used. Oyer claims Trump threw out the rules. Not true. I'm going to read from the transcript. These are her words. President Trump has changed the pardon process. All of the traditional rules and procedures pertaining to pardons have been thrown out the window. That's what Oyer said. Watch 60 Minutes. This administration, it appears to be working around the Justice Department rather than with the Justice Department to vet and review applications for pardons. Her words. Liz, let's set the facts straight right here. You said that Trump threw out the rules. No! The Constitution threw out your rule book. Your rule book doesn't apply. The pardon power, it belongs to one person, the President of the United States. It has always been personal. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's controversial. Andrew Johnson, he pardoned all the former Confederates. Richard Nixon, he commuted the Jimmy Hoffa's sentence. Gerald Ford, he pardoned Nixon. And Joe Biden, he pardoned members of his own family, including his son Hunter. Presidents doing controversial pardons, it's not new, it's the design. You know that, Liz. So when Donald Trump issues what you call a controversial pardon, he's not breaking some sacred tradition. He's standing in the line that stretches from President Washington to President Biden. The only difference is you personally don't like who he pardoned. And that's not constitutional analysis. That's politics in a robe. Now let's talk about the myth. And you said it, and I'm going to read your words. This is a lie. Oyer oversaw pardon applications at the Justice Department. This is from 60 Minutes. From 2022 until this past spring. Traditionally, that's true, people applying through the Office of the Pardon Attorney, good conduct, time since conviction, responsibility, background checks, FBI review, that was what you call the rules. It sounds very noble. It sounds very non-political. It sounds very neutral. But this is what you forgot to tell 60 Minutes. Before you ever walked into that office, President Obama's pardon attorney, I want everyone to fact check this, Deborah Leff, Obama's pardon czar, she resigned in protest. It's on the internet. She can no longer do her job because her clemency recommendations were being reversed by higher ups at the DOJ, and she was blocked from even presenting her views to the White House. She said the president was not being given a full set of views on clemency. Now that's the broken system you took over, Liz, a system that was so corrupt, so obstructed that the previous pardon attorney, she walked away rather than lie about it. Did you tell Scott Pelley that, Liz? Did you look into that 60 Minutes camera and say, by the way, the office I ran was described as a broken, obstructed mess by one of my predecessors? No, you didn't. Because that part, it doesn't fit the narrative where you're the saint and Trump is the villain. You said I was fired for principle. Let's look at what was said on 60 Minutes. Oyer was fired in March after she says she opposed, and you have a right to this, I'll give you that, restoring gun rights to an actor that Trump supported, Mel Gibson. She has since become a vocal critic of the Trump administration. Well, that part's 100% true. Of course, you were fired for pure principle. That's the movie version. The movie version, it writes itself. It could be part of this is true, but it's a lot of spin. Because here's the one thing that is true. You weren't fired for defending actual innocence. Because, everyone listen up, I applied for a pardon clemency through your office. Your message to me was brutally simple. Actual innocence is not a factor in clemency review. Liz, you said that. You told me through a message, you didn't come directly to me. I have you on tape. You said innocence is not a factor. The fact that I've maintained my innocence, the fact that I'm presenting very compelling evidence for it, that's irrelevant to your process. So let me say this directly, because America, the United States of America, needs to hear this. If actual innocence doesn't matter to you, Liz, then you're not running a justice system. You're running a paperwork machine. If innocence doesn't matter, but executing a child, that could be forgiven. As long as the killer is old, he's remorseful, and he's politically connected, or it's politically convenient for your woke president. God knows if he really signed off on those pardons. That's another story. Hey, Liz, that's not mercy. That's madness. Now, Liz, also 60 Minutes. I want you to look at the people that were erased. Let's take a look. This is FBI agent Jack Kohler. He was alive. He was a husband, a son. He died on the ground, shot in the head, point blank range. He begged for his life. Wow. You have the nerve? You signed off on that? Let's look at another one of your victims. This is FBI agent Ronald Williams. He too was executed, same execution. He didn't get a pardon. He didn't get mercy. He didn't get a second chance. Imagine after his partner was shot in the head, he knew seconds later he would be shot. The splattered brains of his partner were all over his suit. He begged for his life. Oh, but it gets worse. Not that this is good. Let's take a look. That's B.J. Brown. And that's B.J. Brown's mom. B.J. was 8 years old. He was murdered, along with his mother, Karen Clark. Why? Because B.J. Brown was going to tell the truth in the courtroom. B.J. Brown, according to Adrian, he had to go. These people are not abstract people in the law review guide. How could you do that? These are human beings whose blood is on the ground. When we talk about Leonard Peltier and Adrian Peeler, and the fact that Joe Biden gave both of these men clemency, both of them, under the very system you controlled, Liz. Where's the outrage? Where's your outrage? Where's your segment on 60 Minutes about this? Oyer says a part economy has cropped up. Also from 60 Minutes. People with political connections going straight to the president, applications going around the traditional process. I almost agree with you here, almost. Yes, there's a pardon economy. Yes, people with connections get heard faster. But let's be honest, that economy, it didn't start with Trump. It existed under President Clinton, Bush, under Obama, and President Biden. Biden, he pardoned his own family. And he gave clemency to Peltier and Peeler. And he told Americans the clemency batch was about nonviolent drug offenders. You want to talk about a pardon economy? Let's talk about the people who somehow slipped into a batch that you signed off on. A man involved in the conspiracy to murder a child, and a man convicted of the cold-blooded execution of 2 FBI agents. Your office, you were part of that pipeline. So spare 60 Minutes, the sermon about Trump shattering norms. The only norm he shattered was your preferred political friend, your hierarchy. Let's quote from 60 Minutes again. And I'm very emotional about this. I apologize. Oyer said today, Mr. Trump is using his pardon power in ways that other presidents never have. Come on, Liz. That line is pure theater. Every president has used the pardon in ways his enemies called unprecedented and dangerous. You know what actually is dangerous? You know what's unprecedented? A pardon attorney publicly attacking, you're a former pardon attorney now, but attacking a sitting president on national television after you were fired. And you're staying quiet, very quiet, about your own administration's clemencies for murderers and about your own doctrine. This bothers me personally. It affects me personally. Your own doctrine that actual innocence doesn't count in the clemency process. You also leave out the simple truth. The president of the United States is not required to follow DOJ's process. Not historically, not legally, not constitutionally. Your office, it's an advisory shop. It's not a constitutional branch of government. Trump is allowed to take applications straight into the Oval Office. So was Biden, so was Obama. You don't get to turn that around because of your hurt feelings. Give me a break. Thank God that it's your old office. It's still there, but President Trump appointed Alice Marie Johnson as pardon czar. We don't have to go through the DOJ, which is stupid, to get clemency. You mean the very office that prosecutes someone decides whether to give them a pardon. We all know why Deborah Leff resigned, because higher-ups at the DOJ were not letting her recommendations get to the president. We all know that's true. Look, Oyer, she said the whole system of clemency is at stake, that many deserving, powerless people applying through the DOJ being overlooked in favor of the wealthy and well-connected. Okay, Liz, on this, you and I should be allies. You're absolutely right. The poor do get ignored. I've applied for clemency. I know no other way to do this. I write Alice Marie Johnson direct. I applied through the DOJ. I have no faith in the office because of you and the people who are loyal to you. They still might be there. But you are right that people who don't have a lobbyist, they don't have a donor, they don't have a celebrity friend, they do get buried in that pile. You're right about that. But here's where your story breaks. You sat in the chair that was supposed to fight for those people. You ran the office that Deborah Leff said was already broken and obstructed. That's right there in the Yale Law Journal. Look up her quotes. You told me through, what was it, a FAM, I'm a big fan of FAM, a FAM seminar webinar, you told an actually innocent man, me, that innocence doesn't matter. I'm not asking you to accept whether I'm innocent or not. All I want is an FBI investigation. But here's the thing. Under the presidency, you're not criticizing on 60 Minutes. Your system, it helps set free men tied to the murders of FBI agents and a young Christian black boy. Don't get to pretend you're the Mother Teresa of clemency. Mercy for the powerless, that's so beautiful. But mercy for the powerful and the politically connected, let's get real. You know, it happens. But you're shrugging off innocence. That's corruption. It's corruption dressed as compassion. Liz, I want you to hear this. You're entitled, absolutely entitled to your opinion about Donald Trump. You're absolutely entitled to be angry that you were fired. But you're not entitled to rewrite history. You're not entitled to erase Jack Kohler, Ronald Williams, Karen Clark, and B.J. Brown. You can't take that out of the clemency story. It's depraved. You're not entitled to preach about process while defending or benefiting from a broken system. That your own predecessor, Deborah Leff, she couldn't stomach it. You're absolutely not entitled to tell innocent people that innocence is irrelevant. And you go on national TV pretending you're defending justice. And to 60 Minutes, I'm a big fan. I will say that I'm a big fan. You're supposed to be the gold standard of investigative journalism. Instead, and I'm a fan, but I have to say this, you handed America a one-sided script. You ran a story with a very disgruntled ex-official. She was fired. You never dug into Deborah Leff's resignation letter. You never asked Liz Oyer about Biden's clemencies for Peltier and Peeler. You never pressed her on whether she believes innocence should matter. Come on, let's face it. You reported a half-truth about clemency, and this is a half-truth in an arena that needs the whole truth. A half-truth, that's a lie. To everyone watching, my beloved LinkedIn family, you don't have to love Donald Trump to see the hypocrisy here. Presidents have always issued controversial pardons. That's their constitutional right, including Joe Biden's right to pardon his son. I'm not complaining about that. But he commuted the sentences of Leonard Peltier and Adrian. There was so much blood on those crime scenes. But if we're going to talk about dangerous use of the pardon power, then we have to talk about all of it, especially Biden's. We have to talk about the people inside the DOJ who decided that the innocence of a man can wait. Today, I'm telling you the story 60 Minutes didn't tell you. It's the story that Liz Oyer didn't tell you. Now you heard it. So until next time, stay well, swim strong, and I'm begging of everyone, I'm begging you, share this video, put it on your timeline, send it to a news source. Just share it, comment, like it. It will help me propagate the message. God be with you. And I apologize. I've been very emotional.